Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another LEGO Train MOC Showcase video on my channel. This is a very special episode. This is the LNER P2 named Prince of Wales. Why is this special? When you go online and you look at LEGO Train MOCs, there is a whole bunch of them built at 7 studs wide. I for one think, and obviously the people who built them as well, think that at 7 studs wide, it's the perfect scale to build LEGO trains. When you compare them to the size of a minifigure, it looks really good. Building with these extra large drive wheels instead of the standard size drive wheels, it looks much more accurate. And I have put it off a lot in the past simply because I didn't think my build skill was good enough to be able to pull it off. With enough motivation and passion to build a P2 at 7 studs wide, I thought, you know what, let's give it a go, and the end result is magnificent. So why the P2? Well, I need to give a big old shout out to a Flickr user and YouTuber, British Bricks. He made a P2 about a few months ago. It's not too long ago. It's still on his pages as well, and they look absolutely phenomenal. He even added decals and stickers to his P2 build, so it's absolutely finished. And it looks gorgeous. It absolutely is stunning. I strongly encourage you to check it out because once he finishes build at 7 studs wide, I thought, you know what, I've got to do the same thing to the P2. Fallen in love with the locomotive. Seeing it like that, I've got to give it a try myself. It'll be good, a good enough excuse to give 7 stud wide a go. And yeah, again, all the links will be in the description to his pages, to the photos and videos of the P2 in action. Yes, it really does move. It's brilliant. Such an incredible build. So there are going to be elements on this that are similar to his, but some that are very different. Different in a way that I am not a good enough builder to be able to match them. So just to get this out of the way, my engine has golden buffers, and I think now it's more of a symbolism thing. If a train on my railway has golden buffers, it's one of my favourites. So this does, my Tornado does, Flying Scotsman does, and my Coronation class has golden buffers. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird group, and they are some of my better builds, and it's more so because I haven't been able to find some of the 1x1 golden tiles to act as buffers. So, oh well. The face of the boiler is directly face forwards, instead of it being sloped backwards like it should be. That again is due to the fact that my building skills aren't good enough to be able to build that around the whole rest of the boiler. But in time I might come back to it and amend it because it's not accurate. Going across the boiler, this is actually the same sort of build technique that I used for my 6 stud builds. So it's 4 across the top and it's 4 going sideways, and there are a few times where I need to go 7 wide at the back. Think of the Coronation class in particular. That's got a nice beautiful rounded boiler, and it's the same design being used here, but it looks better here because the base is now 7 studs wide. You can accommodate it a lot better. The smoke deflectors on the side are also a bit weird. There's this sort of sloped up section here at the front, and whilst there are some design elements I wanted to include, again, I haven't been able to really implement the things I really wanted to do because of how it all just came together, which is a bit of a shame. But again, in time, I could definitely see myself coming back to amend this because it is such a beautiful build. I have a handrail going across the side of the boiler, and I thought, you know what, I've got the space, let's make it happen. And whilst there are about 3 or so for each side, this is the only thing I can really get away with. When it came to buying parts online, I bought loads of parts, but I didn't buy all the parts I thought I would need, which is a bit of a shame. And even though I think some of these sort of clipper pieces, whatever you want to call them, might be available in green, I haven't been able to find them. So again, that's another problem. There are details on the other side of the boiler. Just give me 1 second to flip it around. There we go. Needs 2 hands to be able to lift it up because it's all connected in very weird ways. But this thing, assembly, whatever you want to call it, on the side of the boiler is a thing that's there. So it's been rebuilt to be a bit weird looking where it slopes here instead of it being down here with the rest of the boiler, but again, that's more so to capture these details. It's not accurate at all, and it's not going to get any better because this is one of the few things that really stumped me when it came to building this. I thought, right, that's definitely there, but how do I build that? What am I going to do? And I just couldn't think of anything. I couldn't think of anything to be able to connect it on. I couldn't think of anything to connect it sideways either. So eventually I came to this and I thought, you know what, that will do for me. I don't even know what that's supposed to represent either. It's really weird in a way. I don't know. If you know what it is, let me know, because I haven't been able to look it up and find out myself. And I think it's bright enough to be able to see the face of the boiler. A little bit brighter. That'll do. We may as well keep it this way around as we go onwards. So the drive wheels, yes, here we go. This is where things get interesting. These are extra large sized drive wheels from Big Ben Bricks. They only come in a few colours. Black is one of them, green is not one of them. So what I had to do was I had to figure out a way of painting the wheels. And this was done in a way where I taped off the side of, well, the rim of the wheels, I should probably call them. Primered them, then spray painted them green. It's not the same shade green as the rest of the build. It's the closest green I'm going to find. And thankfully, the drive rods don't rub against the wheels. It's built in a way where this sort of rim, like ridge, whatever you want to call it, between the spokes and the absolute outer part of the wheel. It's like brilliant. It's just brilliant. I love that it's a thing. Turn it back around this way because I'm used to it being this way around. Now, there's another quick detail I want to approach before we go to the tender and the cab, and that is to do with the cylinders themselves. So this is a very accurate looking cylinder, and I'm actually really pleased with this. This is also built up in a way that I like to call the Pokey hole method, where the axle rod, as you can see here, is poking through a hole in the Technic bricks. And I haven't done that since I built Stevenson's rocket, I think. It's been a very long time, but I had to resort to this in order for it to look accurate and to function properly. And people have, well, I say people, a few people have brought up the fact that it doesn't look quite right, and I agree. The space between the pilot wheel and the cylinder is correct. The gap between the cylinder and the front drive wheel is not correct. I could make it a little bit thicker by adding a few more bricks, but that won't be accurate. I'd have to move the whole section back by a stud or so, but that also means bringing the whole boiler backwards by a stud or so. And sadly, I'm not in a position to be able to do that, which is a real shame because it was going so well. Now then, to this section here. This is probably the most exciting section of the entire build. This is the kind of sloped off area where on British locomotives you get this part of the boiler where it slopes in and kind of matches the width of the cab. And it's a nice looking thing, but for Lego it's a difficult thing to pull off because, again, it slopes, it's an unnatural shape when it comes to using bricks that are traditionally square. But anyways, I saw this design again inspired by British bricks, and I was able to pull it off. It's not perfectly smooth, as you can see. The kind of slick plate here kind of sticks out at the bottom, and it kind of sticks out a little bit here as well, but it's not too much of a problem. It doesn't really curve up smoothly going up to here as well, and I think it should go up a little bit more, but again, my building skills are limited, and this is my first proper 7 stud wide build, so I'm still learning things as well. So yeah, those are my excuses. The window at the top is much higher, but it's kind of stuck there anyways. So these are bucket handles, and also the sort of spikes you get on samurai minifigure helmets. Thankfully I've got 2 in gold, otherwise I would have to go crazy online to try and find some. And it works. I mean, it looks really good there. I think, well, despite the fact that it's really high up, but the design idea, again, by British Bricks is a really genius one, even with the brick below it. So this brick here is like this one, but it comes out as a brick tool, and it's, I can't really show you the shape, but it's filling a gap that otherwise couldn't really be filled. And it again is such a brilliant idea. Nothing I would ever think to do, and whilst it's not the cleanest thing ever, it actually works a lot better than you think. I love that so much. It's absolutely brilliant. Now we are going to have a look at the cab interior, but I'm going to do that later on in the video. Just need to shuffle forward first. Hang on, I'll focus the camera now. There we go. Right. The cab itself is kind of the same size as it was previously. It's just stretched out to be 7 wide instead of 6, and I think that looks good. We do have our minifigure in there, but again, I will save the internal details for later on. The tender is an interesting tender. It's, again, kind of similar to how it was previously, but because it's 7 wide, more details have been added, and I learned a few things or two. Well, yeah, I say I learned a thing or two. I actually have a Hornby 00 gauge model of the P2. So instead of looking at pictures online as references, I actually had the professional model next to me and went from that. So details like this area being a little further down, this sort of slope brick that would go here, and also how tall this sort of round section is. Those are things that I discovered just by looking at the model, because trying to find pictures online with the real thing isn't exactly easy, especially for something as old as the P2. But overall, the tender shape is kind of similar. We have handrails on the side as well now to be able to let minifigures get in and out. Nice to have some more details. And overall, it's a much better build. I am very pleased with the tender. Nothing much else to really say on this because it's only a tender. But one thing that is quite interesting, the wheels of the tender and the trailing wheels of the cab. So this is built in a very stupid way. I'm going to use the word stupid. Here's why. So going back to the drive wheels, this is a flange, that's a blind. That's a flange, that's a blind. Now the P2 is a 282. So traditionally there would be a gap about here between the trailing wheels under the cab and the first wheels of the tender. But because that's a blind here, instead of it being here, it created difficulties when going around corners and points. With standard size drivers, you can have flanges on the outside for an 8-wheel build. But for the size up, which is what I'm using, you cannot get away with it. And I was worried because I thought, what the bloody hell am I going to do? I can't get the wheels to connect and go around corners. The build nearly ended, but then I came up with this. Well, actually, again, I say I came up with this. This is the design I saw for back when I was building my Flying Scotsman build, which is, I don't know, a good few months ago. The trailing wheels and the front tender wheels are all connected to one base. So there's a connection point here and a connection point here. One thing that also allows me to do is create a smooth floor between the floor of the cab and the tender. So it doesn't look too bad, there's no awkward space, and when it goes around corners, there's more smooth surface for the plates to swivel on, and it doesn't like clip off or whatever else, so it's actually really good. Now these wheels that I'm using here are medium-sized drive wheels. Now I didn't like the idea of using drive wheels for a tender or anything like this, because there may be a time where you turn the wheel in just a way where you might be able to see the hole that you would put the Technic pins in. So basically this hole here, where this Technic pin would go in as if you were going to connect a drive rod. But actually, you can barely see it. I think I can see it there. But even then, it's nothing to really worry about. It looks really good. Again, the size is appropriate. It works really well. And because of this size, I've also been able to, and the fact that it's all one rigid base. That's another key thing to, before I go forward. So these two are obviously flange wheels because that's its own base. That's a blind, that's a blind, that's a flange. So that wheel and that wheel are the only two wheels really connected to the tracks. So I can make a rigid base and allow a more sturdy construction, and even build these side details where these handlebars are being used as more details. An interesting design idea, though not the most complex or a good looking one, but at the time of building I thought, you know what, that's something I can get ahead with. So yeah, that is almost everything for the P2. There's nothing really special going on here at the back. I do have the magnet buffers attached, and it looks really good when compared to other coaches. More so with my taller coaches like my Metroliner and Red Passenger coaches because they're taller. So yeah, let's have a good look at the cab. So give me one moment. There we go. That is the interior detail. We have a 2x5 sort of, no, not a plate, but sort of a build-up of plates. They all got texturing, they got printed or stickers on there. There is one lever just to fill the gap, and we do have the Firebox Door. I can never remember. Smokebox, Firebox. You know what it is, you can see it there against the wall. But yes, it looks very good. Definitely loads more space to be filled up there, but not too much of a problem. And since I took the cab roof off, I may as well briefly show you what this looks like. So this is the 1x5 Technic pin that connects to about here underneath. It's a pain in the ass to connect, demands both hands, and is very finicky. Here's the driver as well, in case anybody is wondering what minifigure is driving this beautiful thing. Okay, let's put the roof back on. Can I do this one-handed? Yeah, this should be pretty easy. There we go. Look at that. It does look so good, this model. I am so happy with it. But I'm going to need two hands to reattach this. And there we have it. That is the showcase video for the brand new LNER P2. A magnificent build, one of the best things I've ever made. This genuinely might take the title of the best Lego train I've ever made, even though that title probably belongs to something like Emerald Champion or Big Red. This is definitely up there. It's such a gorgeous build. And this was a very long video. I do apologize because not everybody has the attention span for something like this. I definitely don't unless it's a podcast. But you know what? It's definitely worthy of such a long run time. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally done. Thank you all ever so much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.